All right. Well, hello. It's Rob and
Tom
back again. We're going to share with you yet another case study that we've done here. We're going to tell you
a lot about Bane-Welker Equipment Corporation.
And we've done a lot. The great thing about this case study is it involves multiple software working together for the enterprise to create an incredible solution.
Let's set it up for a second and kind of let them know a little bit about what their challenges were.
That's a good idea.
So these guys had some pretty significant challenges. They were trying to keep a website, an ERP system, a second website, all up to date, and they had to go into each system separately in order to make the changes that needed to be made. Furthermore, they have three primary product lines. They have their what they call whole goods, which is the big equipment, tractors, combines, things like that. Then they have their parts, which is self-explanatory, the parts to fix all that big equipment. And finally, they had their services department, which goes out and does the work around those things. Historically, those three departments never knew anything about what the other one was doing. And so they lost a lot of revenue based on that, because if you think about it, when they go out and they sell a new combine, there's usually an old combine that gets traded in, or if it's in not good enough shape, doesn't get traded in and stays out there on the farmer's field. And when that happens, there's parts and services opportunity that nobody knew about. Vice versa, when someone's coming into services and their bill starts to ratchet up, the company didn't know on the whole goods side that, hey, there might be a whole goods sales opportunity on that side of the field, right?
Would you like a new tractor?
Or a parts, yeah, exactly. So that was just some of their challenges. Obviously, there was a lot of duplicate work, a lot of duplicate effort on the part of their sales team. Their what they call their
It was a really strange name. I know.
Yeah.
We'll think of it later.
We'll get the name. But anyway,
once you hit your 50s, everything really just kind of gone.
But any way you describe it, there was just a ton of duplicate effort. So,
right.
And quite frankly, salespeople were writing things down on pen and paper.
And they have separate salespeople for each of those departments.
And they'd write down on the back of a business card, so-and-so came in, was looking for X part, right? Probably never got to anybody else that could help them.
Let's also add that they're multi-state and have several locations, so salespeople are all over the place.
Yeah, over a dozen locations. And they're a big outfit in that space in the Midwest, based in Ohio and Indiana primarily. So there were a bunch of opportunities there. One was they needed a full-blown CRM. When you've got a distributed sales force in that many different locations across different product lines, there is no good way to share information amongst those salespeople without having a system in place that allows you to not only share that information, but have a workflow follow-up that says, hey, somebody picked it up and is actually handling it and dealing with it, right? And particularly for their CEO, he wanted to know and see that that was happening because, of course, his gut was telling him, we're losing revenue because that's not happening. The second thing that they needed to have is a system that would allow them to have all of their product and product information and product data in a centralized location so that they could feed websites, ERP systems, shipping systems, all of the other systems that they have that need that information, and so that you didn't have to go into each separate system and enter the same information multiple times. And then finally, they need to be able to track their inventory. Historically, that was done again on paper, pen and paper. So they needed a system whereby they could go out and scan QR codes or UPC codes out in the field and see what's there. What equipment is still there? What's there that should not be there because it's already been sold? What's not there that should be there because our reports are telling us this $200,000 piece of equipment should be in this yard, but it's not there. So all of that needed to be handled as well. So multiple systems, multiple types of users in the company, from sales to customer support, to the closing team, to the team that looks at and assesses the value of the old equipment
used equipment coming in,
brought in, all the way up to the executive level, the CEO and the CFO, who want to see accurately that indeed we know where all our equipment is. When people are coming in to buy something, we know who they are and where they are and how to sell it to them. And we also have the ability to reach across our different divisions and sell things to people that we otherwise never even had an opportunity to pitch.
Right.
So what did we do? How did we make all that happen?
Magic. No, what we did what we did is we put together several solutions, right? First, CRM, most widely used CRM in the period is Salesforce. Salesforce provided several advantages in this case. Obviously, it has a CRM, but it has an excellent capability to manage contracts, workflow, closing. It has a service component, and we're able to integrate it to multiple systems using a product that we're one of only 3 authorized implementers in the United States, and that is RabbitMQ. It's a messaging queuing service that allows us to take data once, put it in multiple places, such as product information, websites, ERP, those kinds of capabilities. You want to?
By the way, if you've ever bought a car, you know the amount of paperwork involved in that. And if you bought a house, you know the amount of paperwork involved in that. Buying a piece of farming equipment makes those look like there's nothing to them.
Yeah.
Part of that Salesforce implementation was automating and implementing inside of Salesforce hundreds of forms that need to be filled out and need to be filled out correctly in order to actually close a transaction, all of which had to be done manually before and run through numerous people to double and triple check whether or not it's there, whether or not the right information is there. Now there's a flag, missing this information, missing that information. It's automated, it's smooth, it runs right through the system inside of Salesforce. And that in and of itself has made a huge impact. Sorry, you brought up the forms, and I just thought,
you're
got to
right.
talk about why that was so critical.
I never realized that it's a machine that costs as much as a house, but still, you'd think it'd be easier to buy. It isn't. It's a staggering number of forms, and there are several reasons for it. But that said, absolutely, we implemented it. There are a few other advantages that come out of the CRM, right? For example, farmers, or corporate farms, right, may have multiple accounts. There are multiple partnerships, multiple, folks, individuals, different people buying on an account. They may have different accounts and they may use different buying processes for different things. Putting that all together and combining, going, this is ABC Farm owned by the Smith brothers, really, that connection never happened unless it was held in a salesman's mind. All of these things are contained relationally inside of Salesforce, and now they're able to look at and understand the authorization of a particular section of a company, be able to roll up a report for someone, or actually understand what is the value of ABC Smith Brothers Farms to them as a customer.
The other powerful thing inside of Salesforce is now the sales rep has a single place of authority to go and see what can I actually sell. Because the other thing in that industry is that there is a lot of equipment on the lot that may already be reserved for someone that has said, I'm interested in it, but hasn't bought it yet. And there's a whole set of processes around, do we keep it reserved, or is someone else coming in to buy it faster than the person it's reserved for? How long do we reserve it? And what's actually available for a sales rep to look at to propose the sale to his customer. What did the sales rep historically have to do? They had to go to a third-party website, then they had to go to their own inventory, then they had to go to multiple manufacturers' inventory and try to pull all that data. Because we put a PIM system, product information management system, into the mix alongside of Salesforce.com, we have a single source of authority that pulls all of that information from those different systems and that makes available through Salesforce an immediate real-time window into what can I sell today and what's on reserve that I might be able to sell if I can get the customer to commit quickly. And now they have that, and they don't have to go through all those multiple systems in order to do that.
Right.
So a large part of this project was the integration, putting together all of this information from all of these different systems so that the data that's on the website, the products that are available on the website and reserved on the website are the same products that are available to the sales rep or reserved by the sales rep, or the same products that the closing team has in their closing documents are the same products that the team that's looking at the assessment of the used equipment has. And so all of a sudden, all of these things that were dispersed throughout the organization are in one location, and I can access them through my single system, and I can update it in that system. If I want to reserve it, I now reserve it in my Salesforce.com. It triggers that it's reserved in my DIS system, which is my ERP system. It's reserved on the website, and all of that happens by PIM, sort of sitting in the middle of all of that and controlling that flow of data. And the way that we've done that is with a messaging queue system called RabbitMQ.
Right. Let me add, one of the real challenges to this is that, like many unique industries, right? Farm equipment, isn't exactly like every other industry in the country. So there is a custom or an industry ERP, right? It's not SAP, it's not Oracle. It's a small industry ERP, and they don't have APIs written for a lot of the things we needed to access, and they don't have ports available for us to access. So we created a RPA that allows us to access this information and to be able to put it into the message queue and get information back and forth, even though it's not available through their DIS system.
RPA is basically robotic process automation.
Right.
And where historically you might try to connect to everything, and we can connect to some of the data through the back-end system, through APIs, into the database, right? Where historically you can try to do it that way. When that's not available, how do you do it? Well, you do it by basically mimicking a user. So what happens when you can't do that is a user goes in and pulls that information manually. Well, that's what RPA does. RPA goes in, acts like a user. Basically, it's a robotic automation of what the user would do on the keyboard and pulls the information that way. We do this for a lot of customers because we have customers in other industries with similar problems where we pull everything we can by API, but we don't stop at the API layer when it comes to integration. If you need more information than that, we help you pull it via this robotic process automation. So there's really no system that we can't fully integrate in your environment.
True. Message queuing also makes it a whole lot easier, right? Once we've got a hold of that information, we aren't rebuilding APIs into every single system. We're able to deliver it directly. A lot of benefits that we bring to bear that are unique to the way we do things and the partnerships that we've put together. So out of that, right, one of the most important things is the iPhone capability. Everyone in their company's issued an iPhone. And salespeople are out in the field, and some people, as you mentioned, are out trying to do reconciliation or inventory, if you will, on some of the equipment, just making sure it's present. All of that is done on an app in which we've developed an app that works with all of that and provides the information necessary to salespeople, to admins, and to executives.
So the farmer calls the sales rep, says, I want to buy a new combine. I've got an existing combine I want to trade in. Sales rep goes out in the field, looks at the existing combine, gets all of the information into that mobile app, takes pictures from that mobile app,
which
that all gets fed back to the product information management system. is then accessible via Salesforce to the assessment team back in the office that looks at it and evaluates that and comes back and says, okay, this is, worth somewhere between $100,000 and $125,000, or in some cases might get even more specific than that. And then that gives the salesman the tool to cut the deal while he's right out there with the farmer doing the work in real time. By the way, that's a process that used to take them about a week. So the sales rep would be out there, write things down on pen and paper, take manual pictures, bring those pictures back, have to upload those, take the information that he wrote down, put it into an email, send that email. More than often, the team would then come back and say, oh, you missed these 3 things that we need to know, which are now all prescribed that they have to be there inside of that mobile app. So all of a sudden, a process that might take a week is now done in real time, and allows them to do that very, very quickly. And in addition to that, like we said before, their internal team utilizes that same app to go out to all of their locations each month and do their inventory. So they do an inventory where they basically scan the QR code on each piece of equipment, check if any changes have been in hours used, for test drives or whatever else, and are able to update each piece of equipment on a monthly basis in terms of it's still here, it's not here, it's where it's supposed to be, or heaven forbid, if anything's missing, what's missing, and track it down. Why is it missing?
Well, and often, right, what really happens is a customer's in, one store and it's miles away and they truck the tractor over. But if someone isn't working at it and keeping track of it, it's how they lose track of some of the inventory. And it's important to update it. You got to know where that inventory is and make sure it's still there. So this is a really useful application for them on the iPhone. We're enhancing it continuously. It makes life a lot easier. So I think.
Go ahead. And here's what's really cool, guys. We're in the infancy with these guys, right?
Right.
This is the first set of solutions. We're already now, and they're already now talking about, well, for our more expensive equipment, it makes sense to use, well, now my mind went blank, the ID stuff that you put on the
RFID.
RFID, that's it.
Yeah, so if we put on the RFID and we can hook it up, obviously we're going to know continuously where things are, check in, check out, which again can be done right on the iPhone.
So again, next phase things already in the works. This is a customer that's thrilled. We've literally changed their business life.
Right.
Their internal processes are simpler. Their external processes are more, how shall we say, transparent to the customer. And they're able to increase revenue by doing these things.
Well, and some of the things that have happened that we've mentioned, right? So taking processes from a week down to real time increases your sales likelihood, right? If I can make you an offer on your tractor right away and I know it's approved by management and I can do it while I'm on your farm, looking at this tractor, talking about, hey, you're looking at this new tractor, but we'd love to acquire. Used tractors are a good business. Used combines, they can make an offer and acquire the right kind of piece of equipment they know they want at the right price. You're much more likely to close that deal. Changing turnaround time, reduction of errors, everything was run by email previously. And we all know how it's easy to miss emails. Things get misunderstood. People are out of the office. You can't find things. Someone didn't get copied. These are problems with email. Now we have a centralized system. You can access it anything from handheld to computer terminal to having it, and you can use any computer you want. This creates a tremendous amount of efficiency for our client. And we're expecting increased revenue, not only from the sales effort, but as we mentioned from the very beginning, the visibility between their whole goods, their services, and their parts is an important thing that we'll continue to improve on.
Absolutely. And that's the story of Bane-Welker.
Right.
The first version. Next version
Version
coming later this year.
Right. We'll update. More to come.